Uh, Let me introduce myself. I'm Srikanth Karnevar. For this semester, I'm your course teacher for this course of Esdm 231, which is having weightage of 3 credits, 2 credits for theory and 1 credit for practical. And the title of this course is Environmental Studies and Disaster Management. So let us overlook what is actual syllabus of this course. So of course for each and every kind of subject, so there is a common question or common syllabus, that is definition, scope and importance. And here we'll discuss about natural resources, its definition, classification, then importance, uses of over exploitation of the forest, okay, and ecosystem, study of producers, consumers. So this subject is very crispy, not so difficult, not so hard. So as you might have observed that, so this is quite what you learn in our previous standards, that is types of ecosystem, biodiversity, pollution, and several things that are related with the disaster and protection of this environment. So in practical, we'll study different practicals for the collection of the effluent samples, means collection of the water from the industries, to visit plants, then calculate its dissolved oxygen, TDS, air sampling. So this is a part of our practicals. We'll start our practicals when the college, when you will come back physically for this college to attend this course. Okay, so let us discuss about what is meant by environment. So just to recall that this is the word which is derived from French language. It's actually a French word. What it means that circle. So here in this case you might have observed this kind of circle, or you may say that it's in a surrounding. So as we are living here, and what is surrounded by us, that are the different biotic and abiotic things. So these biotic and abiotic things, they actually interact with each other and they affect human health, reproduction, growth and everything. So environ means surrounding and ment means actioning. So this is the French word. So what is the brief history of this environmental studies is that in the year 1985, what had happened that, so during that time Honorable Rajiv Gandhi, he was a prime minister, and during that days he realized that so there is urgent need to establish this ministry which will specifically focus on environment. So Honorable Rajiv Gandhi, he established this Ministry of Environmental and Environmental Protection. And afterwards, he enacted a few laws which can helps us to protect our environment. So this, what is the function of this Ministry of Environment? That it gives not only protection to the environment, but it also creates the awareness. It also changes our attitude. So for this course, there are the main objectives that are awareness, knowledge and attitude. So at the end of this semester, definitely we'll get an awareness to regarding our basic knowledge about the environment and our sensitivity towards environment and its related problems. So at the end of this semester, you will also have added knowledge that will help to individual and social groups to acquire basic understanding of the environment, what environment consists of, and what are the problems which are related or which are associated with this environment. And lastly, the most important point is that attitude towards environment, that it also give an added advantage for changing of our attitude towards this environment. Now let us look at the different segments of this environment. So here are the different segments. Segment means what? So this segment, this segment, it is related with these. What we can say that uh, this part, it is related with this ecosphere. It is related with this ecological sphere, then atmosphere, then hydrosphere, lithosphere, and biosphere. So this part or this hydrosphere, what it means that, so only the presence of water bodies that are called as hydrosphere. Atmosphere, it is nothing but a blanket upon on the earth, so which comprises different gases. And the lithosphere means what? The part of the earth which comprises earth and rocks, so that is called as lithosphere. And of course, what is meant by biosphere? Biosphere, it is nothing but living component. So this one is the biosphere. Now, the most common question that comes in our mind is that what is the scope and importance of this subject? So what is the scope? So it creates the awareness among the peoples to know what are the various renewable and non-renewable resources of the region, the environment or the potential patterns, their utilization, balance of various resources available around us, and how judiciously we have to use that. Second point is that it also provides the knowledge about ecological systems, its causes, effects, and relationship. In our environment, there are different kinds of ecosystems are there. For example, desert ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, forest ecosystem, and they are directly and indirectly affecting on human health and life. Point number third, it provides necessary information about biological richness, their potential dangers, out to the species of the plants, animals, microorganisms. Sometimes we feel that what is the utility use of these kinds of microorganisms, what is the use of these kinds of animals, but they are playing the major important role. So that's why it is essential to have an idea about this richness of the biodiversity. It studies and enables one to understand the causes, consequences which are due to the natural and man-made disasters. What are the man-made disasters or natural disasters? Say for example, flood, earthquake, landslides, cyclones. So these are the, you can say that, disaster, and this is the science which will gives us idea about how to mitigate these kinds of disasters. It also enables one to evaluate alternative responses to the environmental issues before deciding an alternative course of the action. Say for example, there are the alarming situations in some parts of the India due to this pandemic. What is the importance of hygiene? So what are the rules which has to be followed by the peoples? That these basic science, it will gives you idea about this, how to cope up with these kinds of challenges. Again, what is exactly meant by the scope? Scope means what? That the area in which you can work and you can improve yourself and you can improvise the social life of the human being and animals and plants. So everything will be improved. So that comes under the scope. So this study enables the environmentally literate citizens by knowing the environmental acts, rights, rules, legislations to make appropriate judgments, decisions for the protection and improvement of the earth. This study also exposes the problems of overpopulation. What are the problems of overpopulation? That already we know that land availability is going to reduce day by day. Health, quality of the health is also reducing. Hygiene, what is the importance of hygiene? So all these things which comes under this environmental science. So this study also tries to identify and to develop the appropriate and indigenous eco-friendly skills, technologies to various environmental issues. It also teaches the citizens and needs to sustainable utilization of the resources. What is meant by sustainable utilization of the resources? Means what? As in what situation we are living. So we have to live in this situation for a longer period with same quality, so that we can call it as a sustainable life. So this study also enables the theoretical knowledge into the practice and multiple uses of the environment. So all these 10 points which comes under the scope of this environmental science. So now let us talk about what is the importance of environmental studies. Environmental studies, it is useful. For what purpose it is useful? So it is useful for checking the pollution. It helps in maintaining the ecological balance. It helps to gain the skills. It gives the basic knowledge about environmental associated problems. It also helps to achieve the sustainable development. So everything we can have by the use of these kinds of science. So the knowledge of the environmental science, it also helps to the applied study of the agriculture. So this is in brief about scope and importance of the environmental study. Few years before, just I was looking after the population of India, and recently, so I found that there is a drastic difference between the population statistics of India. So nowadays it is crossing more than 130 crores. That means you can just realize that how much Indian population is growing day by day. As compared to the availability of the land, we have only 2.5% of the land, and as compared to the total population of world, so we have around 16% population which is living in India. So nowadays, due to this urbanization, industrialization, that overgrowing population, so due to this reason, so the size of the land that is, it's remain as it is. It is not going to increase as the population is increasing. Afterwards, so the availability of water resources. That means you can take a simple example that if in the morning, so if you are drinking such kind of cup of tea, so they realize that how much quantity of water it is required to drink such a kind of only a cup of tea. So if this is in a cup of tea, okay, so it requires 50 to 100 ml of the milk. It requires water, it requires sugar, it requires tea powder. So we look at the sugarcane statistics. So since that the sugarcane, it has to be on field for near about 13 to 14 months approximately. Afterwards, after harvesting, it goes to the sugarcane factory. So where it has to be processed for several ways. And if you look at the amount of water which is required for the preparation of 4 to 5 grams of the sugar, it's around 40 to 50 liters. Afterwards, the milk which we obtain from either from cow or from buffalo. So that buffalo or that cow, she has to consume the amount of fodder which is required for her body. So if we look at that fodder, it requires to grow around 3 to 4 months. Within that 3 to 4 months, if you know that, so how much quantity of the water is required. So total quantity for the preparation of the tea raised from this other resources, that is your cooking gas, some other your human resources, it is around 100 liters of the water which is required for preparation of 1 cup of tea. So now, so just you may imagine that amount of quantity which is required for the preparation of one chapati, wheat requires for the production of the wheat crop. For 1 kg of the wheat crops, it requires 1300 liters of the water. Similar the case with the meat. For the production of 1 kilogram of the meat, it requires 14 to 15,000 of the liters of the water. Now, as what I exactly mean to say that how much quantity of the water it is required for us in the next 50 years. As we keep on increasing in number of the quantity of the resources, each of us we uses, it also increases. That means the earth cannot be expected to sustain this expanding level of the utilization of the resources. So also there are a lot of misuse of the resources are there. For example, pollution is there. So there is a lack of availability of the clean water. We create more and more amount of plastic that we discard after the single use. We waste large amount of food and which is discarded as a garbage. Now let's talk about the air pollution. What about air pollution? This air pollution, it creates respiratory diseases for us. Water pollution, polluted water, when it enters into our body system, it results into the gastrointestinal diseases, skin diseases. So these are the outcomes which are due to the man-made activities. So improving this situation, how we can improve this situation? So each of us has to take action in our daily life that will help to preserve environmental resources. We cannot expect government alone, Modi ji, or alone our Prime Minister or Chief Minister. They alone cannot do without our help. That we have to do it ourselves. And this is the summary of this importance of the environmental studies. What we learn on today, that it provides us basic knowledge of the environment. That means what it comprises. It comprises abiotic components, biotic components. Biotic components means that are having life, that are called as biotic components. Abiotic component means what? The component which are doesn't have any kind of life. That but these living components, if they want to sustain their life, they need such kinds of abiotic components. It also helps to understand the current environmental problems. What are the environmental problems? So there are several environmental problems that we have to tackle or we have to cope up with these kinds of challenges. It helps for the conservation and management of the nature. It helps in maintaining the ecological balance and controlling the environmental pollution. Nowadays, we are realizing that the temperature at the daytime it is increasing day by day, and there is uneven rainfall. Sometimes there is acid rainfall. Sometimes there is a smoke. There is a fogs. So there are some disasters so that are occurred due to these man-made activities. So if we will study this environment in more closely, so definitely it will help to develop ourselves sustainably. That means our new generation that will have the quality environment if we will wisely plan for the protection of this environment. It helps in educating the people regarding their duties towards the environment, what to do, what do not to do. So what is essential for the environment, what is required to sustain our life, so that things can be obtained from this study of this environment. It is also helpful in the environmental management, how to manage this environment, how to take care of each and every part of the component. So, participation of peoples in the conservation of the environment, to create awareness by using mass media, print media, to have a campaign to create the awareness among the people for the conservation of the environment. It also acquires the attitude to concern with the environment. What is our role as a human? What is our role? What things which are essential to do, so that things we can do after studying this course. And lastly, it creates awareness related to the environmental problems, that is uneven rainfall, massive use of fertilizers, massive use of pesticides, and when these residues will remain inside the soil for several years, so definitely it will deteriorate the quality of the soil. So this is in brief about scope, importance of these environmental studies. In the next lecture, we will discuss about uh, what is the important natural resources and their classification. Thank you very much for watching this video clip, and this is exclusively for my students, that means for the students of College of Agriculture, Baramati. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for watching this video clip. थांबा की सर एकच मिनिट.